Monica is online.
Hi, sir. So we have four members online. Everybody except Chair and Honorable Halona.
Chairman, this is Delegate So. I'm on the line. Thank you. Go on mute.
Hi, sir.
Roger.
Good afternoon, Delegate Begay. Right now we have yourself and Vice Chair Carl Slater on the listing of individuals who have called in. I don't know if there are any other Health, Education, Human Services Committee members that are on the line.
Let me call this Health, Education, Human Services Committee back to order from recess. Apologize for being tardy as far as reconvening. Mr. Mose, a quick roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Pernell Malona. Honorable Carl Russell Slater.
Present.
Thank you. Honorable Charlene So. Honorable Charlene So.
Present.
Thank you very much. Honorable Daniel E. So.
I'm here.
Honorable Edison J. Unica.
Here.
Yes, sir. Chair of 5 members.
Constituting the quorum. So we go to item 5B, the report respective the demolition of the Greechwood Springs Community School. Presenters will be Chief of Staff Paulson Chaco, Dr. Pearl Yellerman, and Honorable Vice Chair Slater. Will there be also some input from the School Board of Greechwood Springs Community School? Honorable Slater.
Thank you, Shania, Chair. One of my constituents brought this matter to my attention, and I reached out via email to the committee and then also to the executive branch, and I hoped that someone from there is able to speak to the issue right now. But to summarize, they were awarded a new school construction contract, and a part of that design and build process is to demo the existing dormitory facilities. And in the last presidential administration, I believe they had spoken with BIA and said, we are going to perform and that site where the demolition will take place is going to be needed for school construction. But at this time, the school hasn't received communication back on the nation continuing to pursue that, and they are concerned with the influx of money and projects that they will not be a priority within the nation. And I think they're scheduled to go to construction this year, which I think will be delayed now. So that was the impetus and the desire to get some action and answers from the executive branch on where this is at. But their ask at this time is to relinquish that project, quote unquote, which was never formally adopted by the nation or the executive branch from BIA, but to have the school, perform it as a 297 contract. So, Chair, that's what I have, and I'll ask at this time if Dr. Yellowman or Paulson, Mr. Chaco, or anyone was able to get on for the report. If not, then that's the summary, and we can continue to get information from them at a subsequent meeting.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Slater. Do we have Paulson Chaco, Chief of Staff, or Dr. Pearl Yellowman, Division Director of Division of Community Development, on the call?
Yate, Chair, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Yate, Shanant. Good afternoon, honorable members of the HES committee. I am on the line. I also have a co-presenter, Mr. Pat Dalguy, on the line with me as well. And thank you, Delegate Slater, for the invitation to report. I do have a quick overview of the DFMC projects, or just a summary overview. And Chair, if it would be okay, then I'd like to turn the time over to Mr. Dalguy, who will be providing some of the details of the Greasewood Springs contract. Similar to Delegate Slater, prior to 2019, former President Russell Begay did designate the Historic Preservation Department to oversee or facilitate these projects, 638 demo projects with the DFMC, and then into the Nez Lizer administration, June of 2019. I can't say for sure if projects had movement prior to 2019, but after 2019, President Nez did designate DCD to monitor and facilitate the 638 projects. We then started working with DFMC, that's the Division of Facilities, Maintenance, and Construction out of Albuquerque. And essentially, these schools that are on the docket, so to speak, these schools that are up for consideration for renovation or demo, the nation is sent a solicitation notice. One of the very first solicitation notices that we received, we engaged DFMC with 5 projects. One of those projects, or the very first project, was the Greasewood Springs project. Since then, we have been entering into the contractual services for that project, in which Mr. Dalguy will go into further detail. When we go into these solicitation invitations, the Navajo Nation has an option to select number one, where the nation will decide that the Navajo Nation will perform the procurement, the scope of work, and work with those respective schools, etc. And then the second option is for DFMC to perform all of those activities. As I mentioned, our first meeting with DFMC, we did elect to take on those projects on behalf of the nation. But however, shortly after, we did encounter COVID, and during the closures of the schools, we had been opting for number two, just during the closures of the schools. But now that the schools are resuming, and now coordinating and possibly trying to leverage or expand on the ARPA funds, these projects are a priority of the schools. Many of the schools that are upcoming for consideration, we hope to coordinate with the wishes of the school and some of these funds that have arrived to the nation. So I just want to provide that quick overview. The Greasewood Springs project is a $1.3 million project. And I do have Mr. Delguy, who has been assisting. We've been working together to negotiate, or I don't want to say negotiate, navigate these subpart J contracts. We support the schools entering into these subpart J contracts. However, it requires a tremendous amount of time, and in my opinion, in which we've been advocating with DOJ, it at some point does require or should require a construction-like attorney to assist in navigating these contracts. Just the nature of them are pretty complex and time-consuming. So those have been some of our challenges in navigating these subpart J contracts. With that being said, Chair, if I could turn the time over to Mr. Delguy, who can go into further detail of the Greasewood Springs contract itself. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Delguy.
Hello, Yate. Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
Okay. Oh, yeah. My name is Patrick Delguy. I'm the Department Manager for Community Housing Infrastructure Department. Topahanshle aro sanje kene bashin. Polichi ni dashe aro hananga ni dashna. Got then shle aro TCI ayisden nasha. Today I have been overseeing the Community Housing Infrastructure Department, and when I got into this position, that was during the time these requests were submitted to the nation to have the nation oversee these projects and develop contracts and scope of work and the budget. So, like Miss Yellowman mentioned, these projects were assigned to the Division of Community Development to carry out and implement them through construction and completion. And so, Greasewood Springs Community School, 30 quarters demolition was on the list of the total of 5 projects at that time. And so right now, the amount for this project is total right now. It's 1.6 million. So right now, as far as the contract goes, through a lot of communication between OMB, Contracts and Grants section, and communication with DFMC office, BIA, and also the Navajo Regional Office in Gallup, New Mexico. And when these projects were assigned to the nation, We developed them from scratch. Prior to the Nez administration, we didn't receive any documentation whatsoever to implement and create contracts. And so we had to reach out to the BIA office to retrieve all documentation for these projects. And Greasewood did lack some documents, and there was some miscommunication during this process. So we had to request documentations, and that was time consuming. And come to find out, environmental assessment for the demolition was lacking. The document was never completed or was never retrieved. So right now, that's a task that needs to be done within this contract. So we developed a contract in which a task of 5 is included. Well, actually, task of 6. So right now, the task 1 is beginning planning and design, and also including site plan and reports to be conducted. Based off of that, there'll be a task 2 and 3, which include environmental site assessments. Those have to take place, necessary for environmental protection and also for hazmat precautions. We don't know what type of materials are within these quarters, so that environmental assessment has to be done for that. And also including, any historical preservation determinations and abatements, remediations will also be included in these tasks 1 through 5. So those had to be developed within the past few months, and during the closure of COVID, now nation shutdown, it really stalled a lot of the process and the movement of documentations. And so now we have completed the contract with the help of OMB and the BIA office. BIA office has also been going through a lot of turnovers within their organization, their agency. And a lot of documentations were requested and provided somewhat at later time. And so we were able to retrieve some of the requested documents, and we developed a contract. Now the contract went through a 164 review, and right now OMB is just got done reviewing the contract 164. They've made it sufficient, and now proceeding to additional review and possibly getting this contract completed by hopefully by this month. We're anticipating getting this totally completed and provided to OMB to request the transfer of BIA funds to the nation, so we can begin the task 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 within the scope of work, which will entail the amount of $372,000 plus for those for that task. And so once that task is complete, the construction phase will then begin with task 6, demolition, and the preparation for the demolition of 1.1 million. So right now we are pushing the contract through, and based off the timeline of how soon some of these reviewers can get them signed, reviewed and signed, and moved on to get it finalized and submitted to OMB for their review to request BIA to transfer the funds to the nation. So that is what we have right now currently with this project, Greasewood Springs Community School, with the demolition of the 30 quarters there on their campus. And so the nation, DCD, Community Division of Community Development, continues to work and push this project through to completion. We've run into some minor barriers in which we were able to correct, and with some of the language within the scope of work in the contract, and with the help of OMB, we were able to get that complete. So with that, Chair, Delegate So, and Vice Chair, Mr. Delegate Slater, that's the report I have right now. So open to any questions or comments. Thank you.
Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Delguy. Honorable Vice Chair Slater, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation, Dr. Yellowman and Mr. Delguy. Two requests. One, can you send out a timeline and a brief synopsis so that can be shared with the committee and for our records? And then two, how soon are you to going to demolition and beginning the meat of the contract? In terms of, dates that you think it would start, or the time it would take before we begin?
Okay, Yate Nan.
Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Delguy. Ms. Yellowman, Dr. Yellowman, did you want the floor?
We can do the report, but the details of the timeline I would defer to Mr. Delguy. Thank you.
Honorable Slater, do you want the report and then the timelines? Or would you rather listen to the timelines first? Honorable Slater. Mr. Delguy, go ahead and give us the timelines, and after that, Dr. Yellowman can have the floor.
All right, Yate Nan, Chair, Mr. Delegate So, and Vice Chair Delegate Slater. To the question, first question, can we send out timeline with synopsis? Yes, we can provide that information and have that submitted. And as far as timeline for demolition, that would be a task number 6 within the scope of work. So tasks 1 through 5, as I mentioned, which is planning for environmental, some of the surveys and studies that need to be done for the preparation of the demolition would be need to be contracted out to professional services. So we're looking at just somewhat an estimate, anticipated completion of task 1 through 5. We're looking at possibly maybe the end of October. Thereafter, getting the demolition task 6 started thereafter. So we anticipate the demolition to begin the end of this year, or started at by the end of this year, before the end of this year. Possibly around October, November. Hey, that's what the timeline we're looking at right now. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delguy. Dr. Yellowman.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ron Haven here. I'm online just to let the committee know. And I know in this case, Greasewood Springs Community Schools has been asking that this matter be transferred to the school itself. And I understand the report from Mr. Delguy, and I've been trying to get some information here just as well, is that this demolition will be completed this year in October or November 2021. And I do understand from the report that this was assumed as a 638 and not as another option, which had like a 297, which would have allowed the school to do the demolition. Is this the same project that the school has been seeking to transfer money? It has to do with quarters, and I think that this is the same issue. So I think I understood the report to be in that manner. So the school has asked the transfer to allow the school to be authorized to proceed with demolition rather than the 638, just for information of the committee. And some of the issues, I'm not sure if Dr. Yellowman has any procedural issues and what the hindrance of that would be should the school assume that control. But from what I understand, OMB has the contract and this matter is ready to go, is the way I understand it. So I'm going to go ahead and end there, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Haven. Appreciate your input. Committee members, do you have any questions, comments? Honorable Slater, Vice Chair. Back to you.
Chair, I got disconnected. I apologize. Were you handing it back to the presenters or to myself?
Well, Mr. Delguy basically said that the demolition would be taking effect in October, November. Still needing clearance from historic preservation and understanding with Legislative Council Ron, he even given us the update that the actual contract is over at OMB. And really, there's a resolution from the school board that goes back as far as January 2020. Navi passed a resolution May 2019 to give the projects to the Navajo Nation, and nothing has happened. And here we are, August 2021. And the latest resolution is saying, give us the contract. Greasewood Springs is asking for that. So that's where we're at, committee, Honorable Slater. Dr. Yellowman?
Was Mr. Delga? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Honorable Slater. I'm seeking direction.
Thank you. I wanted to get a commitment from the program on when the contract will be executed, and we'll actually be able to start the performance of the project. It's great to hear that there is a contract, but it doesn't make sense then to restart the whole process by sending it back to the school, just in my estimation, if we're this far along. So I want a commitment from DCD on when we're going to get to work.
Dr. Yellowman and Patrick Delguy.
Good afternoon, Chair.
So, Dr. Yellowman, you have the floor.
Thank you. We are committed to following through with the project. As I mentioned, these DFMC projects have been pretty heavy in terms of negotiating the contracts with DFMC. But we do want to see these projects through. We have been committed to the first batch of projects that we entered into agreement with, and we are seeking support. As I mentioned, these types of contracts require the assistance of DOJ in reviewing these Subpart J contracts. We, at some point, would require or essentially need some type of a construction type of attorney. We appreciate the work of DOJ and OMB and Mr. Delguy moving these projects. Now that the schools are open or are resuming, it's also the next part is engaging with the schools. We certainly do support the schools in resuming or taking over these projects. I would just caution the navigating of these contracts. What we run across, in short, yes, sir. And we can also include that commitment in our written report. Thank you, sir.
Do we have anybody from Navajo Nation Department of Justice on the call?
Jay, good afternoon. Delegate Friedland's on the call for the record. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, this is true. Committee, Dr. Yellowman, who basically is the lead attorney that is advising Division of Community Development.
Thank you, Chair. Our EDCU attorney is Ms. Catherine Bolowski.
Miss Angelita Benali
Yes, sir.
or Mr. Tahi, can you reach out to Miss Attorney Catherine Belowski?
Yes. Okay, I'll email her and send her the Zoom link.
Okay. So, Honorable Slater, how much time do you want to give DOJ and Division of Community Development to get us a good timeline and perhaps to keep us updated when the contract gets out of OMB?
I think, Chair, are we going to start the budget hearings on Thursday, and then that's going to go for the next week? So would we say, let's see here, 3 Wednesdays from now? So that'd be the regular HES meeting after we conclude our budget hearings, that we could return for an in-person update with the program and the school leadership. This was kind of a preliminary one, and hopefully we'll have an update saying contract successfully been entered by OMB, and we're going to be moving forward.
Thank you, Honorable Slater. So the 12th is the last day for our budget hearings. But I understand that we're going to have a NABI meeting on the 12th also. And then the 19th and 20th is litigation update. The regular HES meeting is the 18th, unless HES wants to go for a special meeting on the 16th to address this particular item. And we'll include other items respective of legislations that clear the 5-day comment period. And it could be in person on the 16th. If the Vice Chair so desires. Yes, go ahead. Honorable Slater.
Chair, I would just motion to have us revisit this on the 18th and ask for a commitment from the program to have the written update completed by the end of the week. It's Monday. I hope that that's not too cumbersome. Just a simple one-pager or something to that effect that establishes the facts right now, for the committee's records, and then follow up on the 18th. And then if we want to talk logistics at a special meeting, maybe do that at the end of this this meeting. Thank you. I guess
Yes,
with
the
that, I'll
reason-
make a motion then to accept the report.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Slater. I guess the reason I was suggesting the 16th was the committee would be on travel on the 18th to be able to go to Santa Ana to the Justice Center there on the 18th. The litigation update starts at 9 a.m. So that was the reason I was thinking we reschedule maybe the 18th to the 16th or the 17th. Those are some thoughts. We'll address it at the end of the meeting. We have a motion by Honorable Vice Chair Slater to accept the report and to ask for a one-page report respective of our discussions in this report. Do I hear a second?
Second, Winika.
And recognize the second by Honorable Edison Winika. Committee members, do you have any further discussions? Okay. Mr. Delguy, you are loaded up.
Oh, Yate. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
So, let's get the project moving. Irrespective of the other schools that were listed in the NABI legislation. Gosh. NABIMY 29-19, Greasewood Community School at $1,662,304 for the demolition of the quarters, and then Many Farms Community School, $21,457,000. And then there is one that's labeled 103 Demolition and Restoration, $6,270,198. And then Gray Hills Academy High School, $1,910,030, all with a total of $31,299,532. As I understand it, you're taking on all four projects. And respective of that one-page report that Honorable Slater is requesting in his motion, give us the additional information for the other three projects and the status for them. And that way we can see the progress. And the understanding is these funds would not lapse. They are categorized as no-year funding and are available until expended. That doesn't mean we just put it on the back burner. Educational facilities and their improvement is of utmost importance to this committee. Mr. Delguy, Dr. Yellerman.
Yatenan, Chair, yeah. We will provide written report at the end of the week on the project, Greasewood Springs demolition, and we will continue to push the contract through as soon as possible. It's a priority, also with the other schools included with Greasewood Springs projects. So right now we have 2 other projects further in the process and waiting for transfer of funds to the nation to begin also the design and planning phase of those other projects. So and so yes, Chair, we will thank you for your comments and the importance of getting these projects done as soon as possible. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Vice Chair, Delegate Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Delga. With that, any other discussion? If not, let's go to a committee vote. Mr. Mose, roll call vote on accepting this report.
Yes, sir. Honorable Paul Piquet Jr.
Green.
Paul Piquet Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona. Honorable Carl Russell Slater.
Green.
Honorable Carl Russell Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So.
I vote green.
Honorable Charlene So votes green. Honorable Edison J. Lamika.
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Lamika votes green. Chair, a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Mr. Mose, let the record show a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and the chair not voting. Thank you, committee members. We go to old business. There being none. 7, new business. A, legislation 0095-21. Mr. Tahi, please read the proposed legislation into the record.
Legislation number 0095-21. Resolution reads as relating to Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, recommending for the approval of the Navajo Committee, the designation of Fort Defiance Indian Hospital Board, Inc. as a Navajo Nation tribal organization for the purpose of contracting with the United States Indian Health Service and authorizing it to negotiate and enter into Title I, Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638, as amended, contracts in Title V, Self-Government Compacts pursuant to the Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638, as amended. Such designation of tribal organizations being revocable and contingent on the compliance of all terms and conditions as required. Be enacted, Section 1, Authority. A, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee exercises oversight responsibility all over matters related to health on the Navajo Nation. 2 NNC Section 400C1. B, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee exercises authority to review and recommend the authorization and designation of a for-profit or non-for-profit health or social service organization as a tribal organization for the purpose of contracting or compacting under the Indian Self-Determination Education Act, 2 NNC Section 401-6E. C, Navajo Nation Council Resolution CJY-33-10 authorized the previous existing Intergovernment Relations Committee of the Navajo Nation Council to act as the final approval authority only upon a recommendation for approval by the Health, Education, and Social Services Committee, and each of the Navajo Nation chapters to be served for all additional designation of tribal organizations. D, upon reorganization of the Navajo Nation Council and committees, the Nabikit Committee assumed, unless otherwise specified, all responsibilities of the previous Navajo Nations Council's Intergovernment Relations Committee, and the Health, Education, and Social Services Committee was renamed the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, CAP-10-11. E, the Nabikit Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, only upon the recommendation for the approval by Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, and the approval of each of the Navajo Nation chapters to be served, is to act as the final authority for the approval of revocable designation of tribal organization for purposes of contracting under Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended, and Title V of Self-Government's Compacts pursuant to the Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended. Section 2, Findings. A resolution CJY-33-10 authorizes contracts to be authorized as Navajo Nation tribal organizations for the purpose of entering into Title V Self-Government's Compact/contracts pursuant to the Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended. B, the 40 Fines Indian Hospital Board, Inc. has requested to be designated a tribal organization for a period of 15 years for the purpose of contracting with the United States Indian Health Service and to negotiate and enter into Title I, Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended contracts. See Exhibit A. 40 Fines Indian Hospital Board, Inc. serves as the Navajo Nation chapters and commission governments of Cornfields, Crystal, 40 Fines, Ganado, Greasewood Springs, Hoke-Kinachi, Klagato, Natalzil, Oak Springs, Red Lake, Sawmill, St. Michael's Steamboat, Cessna, and Wide Ruins. D, the 40 Fines Indian Hospital Board proposal for designation of tribal organization has been endorsed by a separate resolution adopted by all the names respective chapters. The chapter resolutions are tracked and can be found in Exhibit B. E, the Health, Education, Human Services Committee by resolution HESCD-26-18 attached as Exhibit C previously authorized the 40 Fines Indian Hospital Board, Inc. as a tribal organization to negotiate and enter into Title I, Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended, contracts in Title V, Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended, compacts being revocable and contingent on continuing compliance with all terms and conditions as approved by the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee of the Navajo Nation Council. F, the 40 Fines Indian Hospital Board, Inc. tribal designation expires on December 28, 2021. G, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee of the Navajo Nation Council finds it is in the best interest of the Navajo Nation to approve and recommend to the Nabikit Committee that the 40 Fines Indian Hospital Board, Inc. be given the revocated designation of tribal organization for a period of 15 years for the purpose of contracting with the United States Indian Health Service and to negotiate and enter into Title I, Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended, contracts in Title V, Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended. Combats contingent on compliance with all terms and conditions are required in Exhibit D. Section 3, Approval. The Health, Education, and Human Services Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves and recommends to the Advocate Committee that the 45th Indian Hospital Board, Inc. be given the revocated designation of tribal organization for a period of 15 years, beginning December 29th, 2021, and ending December 28th, 2036, for the purpose of contracting with the United States Indian Health Service and to negotiate and enter into Title I Indian Self-Determination Act Public Law 638 as amended contracts, and Title V Indian Self-Determination Act Public Law 93-638 as amended, compacts contingent upon compliance with terms and conditions as required in Exhibit D. Chair, Exhibit A is a letter dated May 14th, 2021 to the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee by the President of the Board. Attached is Resolution FDIHB-May-J24-2021. Exhibit B are the resolutions. First one is a resolution of the Cornfields Chapter CF-March 2021-096. Next is a resolution of Crystal Chapter CRY-03-2021-030. Next is the 45th Chapter. Resolution number is CDF-2021-March-09-01. Next is the Resolution Chapter of Ganado. Resolution number GAN-287-2021. Next is the resolution of Greasewood Springs Chapter. Resolution number GSC 03-21-1059. Next is a resolution of Hawk Community Chapter, resolution number HCR 03182105. Next is a resolution of Kinsa Chi Chapter, resolution number KDLC 03-017-2021. Next is a resolution of Kagato Chapter, resolution KLA-2115-03/2021. Next is a resolution from Untitled Commission Governance, resolution number NDCG-2021-03-023. Next is a resolution of Oak Springs Chapter, resolution number OSC-021-62-021. Next is a resolution of Red Lakes Chapter number 18, resolution number RLC-03-21-05. Next is Sawmill Chapter resolution number SAW-03-08-2021-03. Next is a resolution of St. Michael's Chapter number SMC 2021-10. Next is a resolution of Steamboat Commission Government, resolution number SCG-2021-04-01. Next is a resolution from CISN Chapter, resolution number TSA-2021-03-012. Next is a resolution from Wide Runes Chapter, Resolution WDR-03-13-21. Exhibit C is a resolution from the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, the 23rd Navajo Nation Council, the 4th year of 2018. Exhibit D is the Navajo Nation conditions for designation as tribal organization for health care pursuant to the Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 93-638 as amended. And in the resolution, a letter dated June 8, 2001 is from Troy Cook regarding the resolution and the enactment on it. It was posted on June 9th, 2001 at 5:13 p.m. And the comment period ended June 14th of 2021, and there was no comment regarding the legislation. Chair, that's the resolution as read it with its exhibits attached.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Committee members, do I have a motion? Going once. Where's Helona? Do we have a motion, committee members? Motion to.
Motion, Delegate Gates.
Yes, it's Chase. Thank you. And do I hear a second? Thank you. Second, Monica. Okay, thank you. Shadows, Attila, we have a motion and a second. Committee members, do I hear any questions or comments?
Chair, this is Delegate Slater.
Okay. Honorable Slater will have a question, so we go to the sponsors. You have up to 20 minutes to address. What's that? Did we, Miss Angelica Benali?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I have a question. Yes, a question to you. This particular item was on the agenda 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Honorable Slater requested a work session. At that time, did the committee table it?
Mr. Chair and members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, on June 23rd, the committee did have this this legislation on the agenda, the legislation number 0095-21. And at that time, there was no motion and no second taken by or offered by the committee. And it was referred to a work session. And at the time it was referred to a work session, there a motion and a second was taken and a vote was done. And that work session took place July 28th. And so that fulfilled that, but it was not tabled and there was no motion or second on the legislation itself.
So in recognizing this motion and second, we are in order.
Yes, yes, you are, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Benali. So Satilla, Honorable Edison Wanika, you have up to 20 minutes. You'll withdraw your comment. Then we'll just, with Honorable Slater withdrawing his comment, committee members, I'm going to proceed to take a vote on this action. With no amendments, we're moving this. Mr. Ron Haven, question. Are you still on the call?
Yes, I am. I'm on the call.
Okay. This action, an action related to Hess. In previous other legislations, it would have said an action related to Hess and Nobby. But in this aspect, there is a semicolon, and we're recommending approval. So there'll be a new legislation that would basically be an action related to Nobby for the approval. Am I correct, Mr. Haven?
Mr. Chair, I'm hoping Troy's on the line. I talked to him about this morning. My understanding was that there will, in fact, be separate Nobby resolution once you approve your committee resolution. And your resolution will be attached and exhibit to the Nobby resolution that will need to be dropped. Thank you.
Okay, with that, committee members, once this action is approved, then Honorable Edison Wanika will have to sign a new form to request for legislation. And that new legislation, the initial title will be an action relating to the Nabikia Committee approving the designation of the Fort Defiance Indian Hospital Board, etc. That's the way that this will proceed, committee members. With no other question or discussion, Mr. Mose, roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Honorable Paul Begin Jr.
Green.
Honorable Paul Begin Jr. votes green.
Green.
Mr. Mose, I'm not able to hear the vote tally.
Oh, the vote was 3 in favor. Paul Begay Sr., Honorable Carl Slater, and Honorable Edison Wanika.
Chair, this is Delegate. So I could not hear the roll call, but I vote in favor.
Thank you, Shabiza. Appreciate that. That'll change the vote to 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and the chair not voting. Okay, so Honorable Edison Wanika will fill out a form to request for new legislation. Thank you. That'll take us to number 8, close of meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Any announcements, committee members? Before we take
Chair,
the,
Delegate So.
yeah, Sabrina, go ahead.
Thank you, Shiash. Good afternoon, Shanant. Just right quick, this coming week on Friday, we do have our Utah Native American Summit with the governor. So I will be meeting with them and to present some of the priorities again for Utah Navajo, and also for some of the priorities within our Health, Education, Human Service Committee. So I just want you guys to be aware, and if there are any points or notes that you guys would like to forward to me, I will be glad to present that to the governor, and we will have our neighboring tribes attend that summit as well, as we are working on a lot of collaboration. And I know that one of the main targets, I guess, for all of its tribes to tackle down is the substance abuse and the resources that have been somewhat limited to some of these tribes. Of course, we will be providing a lot of this insight, as well as with some of these school programs and what we'll be taking as far as with initiative within our Utah Navajo schools. I just wanted to announce that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Shapija. I guess the one other aspect is for the VOCA funding that basically would go to the helping run the Gentle Iron Hawk domestic violence shelter. I think this is the third year of funding, and it may be expiring, so that would be one item. Okay, committee members, any other announcement? On August 5th, as I stated at the start, I'm listed on the agenda for the Interim Indian Affairs Committee meeting in Gallup. So for a couple of hours, you'll have to excuse me on August 5th from about 1 to about 3, but I'll be calling in. So with the revised schedule, then our HES budget oversight hearings will be August 5th, 6th, and then 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And if the committee wishes, we might do the last 3 days in person, because right now we don't have the big binder budgets, and we may be at a disadvantage to really look at the department programs and divisions budget, so that we might have to do revisits on all of them at the last 3 days, the 9th, 10th, or the 10th, 11th, and the 12th.
Mr. Chair?
Miss Angelita Benali, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. I hopefully the committee can consider the legislations that the budgets are exhibits to on legislations pertaining to each division or department or program. And then the HES committee is going to be taking action on the legislations that have those particular budgets attached. Okay, and then those legislations will go on to be exhibits to the Budget and Finance Committee for their consideration, and that'll be the week of the, I believe, the 16th. Or no, beginning the week of the day of 19th. August 19th is when they'll begin to consider the Oversight Committee budgets legislations that they're recommending.
Ms. Benali, do you know if those HES committee legislations are ready for sponsorship at OLC?
Mr. Chair, they were ready for sponsorship last week, and I believe that one or two of the committee members did co-sign on the legislations, and all of the legislations for all of the departments that HES has oversight to were completed as far as like be given on their way to be assigned a tracking number as of last Friday. So all of the departments that HES is oversight to did deliver their budgets. And so right now it's going through the 5-day comment period. And I believe that today might be the 3rd day of the 5-day comment period. So they should be available for consideration even on Thursday. But the oversight budget hearings that HES is going to be conducting will begin on Thursday.
Thank you, Ms. Benali and committee members. Honorable Edison Wanika and Honorable Pernell Alona already signed on to sponsor those budget legislation. So we're meeting the requirements. The other is I'm asking the committee to schedule the regular August 18 meeting to August 16th so that the 18th can be travel day for the litigation update at Santa Ana at the Justice Center there. Committee members.
Mr. Chair, this is Angie
Yeah.
Benali. Can I ask what kind of litigation update is, who are the presenters? Is it
Attorney General.
of Navajo
Doreen
Nation?
McFarland.
Okay, from Navajo Nation. Thank you.
And Miss Benali, we would need off-reservation travel for that.
Yes, is it to the entire Navajo Nation Council?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think this, I'll check, I'll do the off-reservation travel if there is none. But I do believe that the Speaker's office will probably do a blanket travel request for all of the council delegates who are going to be attending the litigation update.
Yeah, it's a 2-day event. Ms. Benali, please do one for me for Friday. No, excuse me, Thursday. For me to go to that interim Indian Affairs Committee meeting in Gallup.
Okay. I will.
I'm
And the
listed on the
litigation,
agenda.
okay. Litigation update is going to be the 19th and 20th, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
And the Richfield item, we might have to reschedule till the 20th, the week after that. Chache, Honorable Paul Begay laid 26th, 27th, I'd say. If you want it on the 23rd That way Sunday could be travel day and the 24th would be travel coming back to Che. But I'm asking the committee to go move the regular meeting of the 18th to the 16th.
Chair, I'll make that motion. Can you say the date for the Richfield visit again?
Let's do travel on the 2nd, at Richfield on the 23rd, and travel back on the 24th. For some of us, it will be a 6+ hour drive one way. Che, Honorable Paul Begay, can we coordinate that with the school board up there and the dorm school board? Okay, motion by Honorable Slater to do the 16th, move the 18th meeting to the 16th, and then to include the Richfield trip.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to make those changes in our calendar. No more discussion. Mr. Mose, on that motion to schedule the request of special meetings and work session.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Purnell Halota. Honorable Carl Russell Slater.
Green.
Honorable Carl Russell Slater votes green. Honorable Charlie So.
I vote green.
Honorable Charlie So votes green. Honorable S.J. Wanika.
Green.
Honorable S.J. Wanika votes green. Chair, a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Thank you, committee members. With that, the special meeting request and off-reservation travel request will be accomplished. Chair's open for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Honorable Paul Begay to adjourn.
Second, Wanika.
Second by Honorable Edison Wanika. Mr. Mose, roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Purnell Halota. Honorable Carl Russell Slater.
Green.
Honorable Carl Russell Slater votes green. Honorable Charlie So.
Green.
Honorable Charlie So votes green. Honorable S.J. Wanika.
Green.
Honorable S.J. Wanika votes green. Chair vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Adjourned at 2:56 p.m.
Thank you.